My name is Steve, and you're watching the original Life and Sad Ending channel. Today we have a very special episode. We're going to take a look at the king of cool himself, Steve McQueen. Terrence Stephen McQueen, better known as just Steve McQueen, was born on March 24th, 1930 in Beech Grove, Indiana. His father abandoned McQueen and his mother, Julianne, when he was very young, and they were never married. Julianne had a drinking problem and soon left McQueen in the care of his great-granduncle Claude, where he worked on the farm in Missouri. His mother rarely visited him during this time. When his mother remarried, McQueen was reunited with her when he was 12 years old, and they moved to Los Angeles, California. Unfortunately, after suffering physical abuse from his stepfather, Steve got involved with some street gangs and was eventually sent to reform school for stealing hubcaps. He escaped reform school more than once, but with counseling he eventually settled down. McQueen joined the Merchant Marines in 1946 and served aboard the SS Alpha. After his service, McQueen traveled the country doing odd jobs, for example working for a carnival and working on an oil rig. In 1947, McQueen enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, and he soon ended up in the brig for 41 days for an unauthorized absence and resisting arrest by the Shore Patrol. McQueen was discharged from the Marines in 1950. After bouncing around a while, he ended up living in New York City. He spent his time at Greenwich Village, an artist's bohemian neighborhood. McQueen soon, with the help of the GI Bill, enrolled at the neighborhood Playhouse Acting School. After a year or two, McQueen was accepted to the Actors Studio, where he studied with Lee Strasberg. In 1956, McQueen appeared in A Hatful of Rain on Broadway. That same year he was in the feature film Somebody Up There Likes Me, starring Paul Newman. He probably felt a bit of rivalry with Newman, who was also in the Actors Studio. In 1958, McQueen had a starring role as Steve Andrews in the cult classic sci-fi film The Blob. That same year, he also starred in the TV Western Wanted Dead or Alive as a bounty hunter. The show was very popular and led to even greater stardom. It was around this time that Steve McQueen became very interested in motorsports and motorcycle racing. In the early 1960s, Steve McQueen became a major movie star, appearing in The Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner and Charles Bronson, and in the 1963 film The Great Escape. More hit movies followed, including The Cincinnati Kid in '65 and the Western Nevada Smith in 1966. That same year, McQueen received an Academy Award nomination for the film The Sand Pebbles. He then starred in The Thomas Crown Affair with Faye Dunaway in 1968. Also in 1968, McQueen was in his most famous film, Bullitt, playing a San Francisco cop. This movie was famous for the car chase between the bad guys in the Dodge Charger and McQueen in his Mustang. His next film also included McQueen's interest in car racing in 1971's Le Mans. During the 70s, McQueen starred in Junior Bonner in '72. That same year, he appeared in The Getaway with Ally McGraw. He then did Papillon with Dustin Hoffman in '73, and finally was in another movie with Paul Newman, this time co-starring with his box office rival in The Towering Inferno in 1974. In the opening credits, both their names are shown at the same time, McQueen's name first on the left and Newman's slightly higher on the right. Yes, The Towering Inferno, Airport, and Earthquake. There were a rash of disaster movies back in the 1970s, and Towering Inferno was great because it was a who's who of Hollywood. It had Fred Astaire, William Holden. Heck, I think O.J. Simpson was even in that. Check it out sometime. Steve McQueen was into fitness, working out extensively, running 5 miles a day. He also trained in martial arts and was a friend of fellow actor Bruce Lee. McQueen was one of the pallbearers at Bruce Lee's funeral in 1973. McQueen's personal life suffered from drugs and alcohol abuse. While separated from his wife, Neely Adams, with whom he had had 2 children, a girl named Terry and a boy named Chad, began a romance with Ally McGraw while filming The Getaway. After enduring a scandal in the tabloids, McQueen and McGraw married in 1973. The troubled relationship lasted until their divorce in 1978. McQueen developed a persistent cough in 1978, and he had been having respiratory problems for a while before an X-ray taken late in 1979 showed that he had a tumor in his right lung. The doctor said that this type of cancer stemmed from asbestos exposure and was known to be aggressive and terminal. McQueen finished up his film career with his last 2 films, both released in 1980, the Western Tom Horn and the action thriller The Hunter. In January of 1980, McQueen married Barbara Minty. Steve McQueen spent the last months of his life in Mexico seeking alternative therapies and surgery for his cancer. Sadly, the King of Cool, Steve McQueen, died on November 7, 1980, in Juarez, Mexico. He was only 50 years old. McQueen was cremated, and his ashes were spread into the Pacific Ocean. They say Steve McQueen's exposure to asbestos happened when he was in the Marines and they had him cleaning the asbestos off of pipes on Navy ships, also possibly in other industries he had worked in before the Marines. What was your favorite Steve McQueen movie? Have you seen The Towering Inferno? Well, I'll see you again next time, unless I come to my own sad ending.